It's Tuesday, the 30th of June. We're entering the fourth to last sitting week of this Parliament, so we're getting pretty near the end of the time. We start off today, as we always do, questions to ministers. Todd Mallard to the Prime Minister about the ability to detect, track and trace new cases of COVID-19. Deborah Russell to the Minister of Finance about reports on the economy. Paul Goldsmith to the Minister of Finance about the allocation of the $62.1 billion available to support the response to COVID-19. David Seymour to the Minister of Revenue about increases in petrol excise duty, road user charges and alcohol excise. Tamati Coffey to the Minister of Housing about managed isolation and quarantine facilities. Michael Woodhouse to the Minister of Health about COVID-19 testing. Louise Upston to the Minister of Social Development about financial oversight of her portfolio. Jenny Marcroft to the Minister for Regional Development about Provincial Growth Fund announcements. Nick Smith to the Minister of Justice about Electoral Registration of Sentenced Prisoners Amendment Act. Joe Luxton to the Minister of Education about the pay gap between teachers in kindergartens and in other ECEs. Chris Bishop to the Minister of Transport about fuel excise duty and road user charges. And Jackie Dean to the Minister of Conservation about the plan for controlling tar on Department of Conservation land. We'll then go on to a government motion which has to do with ratifying the agreement with the Reserve Bank on their funding. The government will then take urgency, which will run through, I understand, till 10 o'clock tonight and from 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We'll start with the Electoral Registration of Sentencing Prisoners Amendment Bill, which is designed to fix up an inconsistency that resulted from an amendment to the law last week. The Forest Regulation of Log Traders and Forestry Advisors Amendment Bill, second reading in the name of Shane Jones. The Superannuation and Veterans Pension Legislation Amendment Bill, committee stages, Carmel Sepuloni. The Rates Rebates Statutory Declarations Amendment Bill, Nanaia Mahuta, committee stages. The Water Services Regulator Bill, again Nanaia Mahuta, committee stages only. And the first reading of the Protected Disclosures, Protection of Whistleblowers Bill, in the name of Chris Hipkins. So the only bill that will go right through under urgency will be the Registration of Sentenced Prisoners Amendment Bill. We'll finish up sometime tomorrow, but I am assured that the government will not go past 1 o'clock under urgency.